Hello, and welcome to this edition of ETV News. I'm Aida Salamon. Athlete Meseret Dafar of Ethiopia has just secured the third gold for her country in the Moscow's championship. Meanwhile, Ethiopians have dominated the men's marathon there, ranking second, third, and fourth. Henok Tesfaye has more.
The legendary Ethiopian athlete Meseret Dafar has just secured the third gold medal for her country at the 14th Moscow World Athletic Championship on Saturday. Meseret regained the women's 5,000-meter title at the World Championships with a beautiful finish against her contenders. The 2007 world champion finished in the 14 minutes, 50 seconds and 19 microseconds, beating silver medalist Mercy Chirono of Kenya by 1 second and 0.3 microseconds. Ethiopian teammate Almaz Ayana did most of the heavy work for Meseret but lost energy near the end. She still won her first major championship bronze medal.
The Ethiopian Federation's plans have worked. It's a double for Ethiopia at the World Championships after Tiran Eshlibaba in the 10,000.
Meanwhile, Ethiopian marathon runners have dominated the marathon field, standing second, third and fourth. Olympic champion Stephen Kiproch of Uganda pulled away late in the race and won the men's marathon gold medal Saturday at the World Championships. Boston Marathon winner Lelisa Desisa of Ethiopia took silver 21 seconds behind Kiproch's winning time of 2 hours, 9 minutes and 51 seconds. Tadesse Tola of Ethiopia won bronze with 32 seconds behind. No Kenyan were in the top of 3 for the first time at the World Championships since 2005.
Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn recommends the leadership at public higher institutions to generate competitive human power to fit into the market the country currently needs. The Premier has discussed with officials and scholars of higher institutions on Saturday at the AU headquarters on ways of enhancing the role of academians to eradicate poverty from the nation. Lalo Etala presents the story.
The government of Ethiopia is doing its best to increase the number of institutions and advance the quality of education across the nation. So far, it has built around 33 public higher institutions in different parts of the country with the same spirit. Some 1,700 instructors and academic leaders from various state universities have been under training for the past 20 days in Addis Ababa. The training has been aimed at increasing the capacity of those institutions and equipping them with the necessary tools to help them play a role in the fight against poverty. While wrapping up their training, the officials and academicians held discussion with Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn on issues related to teaching and learning in their respective institutions. Responding to queries raised by the trainees, the Premier said researches being conducted at higher learning institutions should change the lives of people. Academicians working in higher learning institutions could help Ethiopia achieve educational strategies to intensify university industry link and accelerate the country's socio-economic growth.
እና ትልቁ ትኩረታችን መሆን ያለበት የምናመርታቸው ልጆች ወይም ወጣቶች ከዩኒቨርሲቲዎች ሲወጡ በብቃት ይሄን ስራ መስራት.
Every university has to establish a strong link with the industries, since the very fundamental assignment of higher learning institution is to pursue that demand. If they could create competitive human power, they are serving their best and can achieve their mission.
The participants have asked the Prime Minister for his administration to facilitate the technology transfer from foreign institutions and other incentives, including financial support to own residential units. Hailemariam told the gathering that if public universities remain steadfast to beef up their capacity, the government is ready to provide various incentives to equip them with the required tools of teaching and learning. The Premier has emphasized that Ethiopia can only join middle-income economy if there is a national consensus among the public in general and academicians in particular.
የጋራ ራዕይ ወይም shared vision ብዙዎች የሚሉትን ካልተያዘ በስተቀር
Should we ensure our ambition of joining middle-income economy, then now is high time to discharge our responsibility with that spirit in mind. We have to build shared understanding to achieve the aspiration and extricate the nation out of poverty. For that to happen, you academicians have a vital role to play.
ERTA learns that the second round of the training for officials and instructors of state higher institutions is due to begin shortly.
Welcome back to ETV News. Foreign Minister Tedros Adhanom met Nicholas K., UN Secretary General's Special Representative for Somalia, to discuss recent developments in Somalia and IGAD's effort in assisting the peace talks between the federal government and political actors in southern Somalia. Appreciating the peace efforts neighboring countries have been exerting in Somalia, K said the UN is ready to support IGAD's effort to start a dialogue between the federal government and Jubaland. He noted the UN is keen to see all remaining issues resolved and a political deal reached. He has admitted the international community was not doing enough collectively, and he stressed the need to coordinate efforts in reaching Somalia with assistance. Dr. Tedros said Ethiopia believes the role of Somali neighbors would help solve the country's problems, and it has been in that spirit IGAD engaged itself in the peace talks between the two sides. Ethiopia would do whatever is necessary to consolidate the gains made so far against Al-Shabaab. Ethiopian Roads Authority said it is set to construct and renovate close to 20,700 kilometers of new and existing roads at a cost of 28.9 billion birr during the 2013-2014 fiscal year. Lebu Goro, Diredawa Dawale, Lumame Debre Marcos, Gedo Menabenya, Ambo Waliso, Konso Yabelo, Debre Birhan Ankober, Ankober Dulecha, and Dulecha Awash are among the new roads to be constructed. The authority mentioned construction of 45 new road projects to be launched this year, while construction of 42 road projects started the previous years are expected to be completed now. It is disclosed that so far 19,500 kilometer roads had been constructed and renovated over the just finalized budget year, which has increased road coverage of the nation to 80,000 kilometers from the previous 63 kilometers. Bale Mountains National Park disclosed that 5 ecotourism associations secured close to 500,000 birr from rendering services to tourists during the just concluded fiscal year. Tourism expert with the park, Garmu Mabratu, told ENA that the associations earned the income by renting pack animals, tents, and cooking materials to visitors. Organized in 5 ecotourism associations, 82 Dinsho district residents secured the stated amount, Garmau said, adding that the amount of profit gained this year exceeded by over 10,000 birr compared to that of last year. Bale Mountains National Park is the host of many Ethiopian endemic fauna and flora species like the deer, red fox, and Bale apes. Besides, it is one of the world's natural heritage sites registered by the UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. The Peace and Security Council of the African Union was briefed by the Commission on the latest developments on the situation in Egypt. The Council, reiterating its firm condemnation of all acts of violence in its press statement, expressed deep concern of the escalation of turmoil in Egypt. It strongly deplored the considerable loss of human lives, the injuries sustained, and the property damaged in Cairo and around the country, and reiterated its solidarity with the entire people of Egypt in this challenging and sad chapter of their history. It has demanded the interim authorities and the Muslim Brotherhood to exercise restraint to avoid further losses of human lives and destruction of property. The Council stressed that the tragic events that took place in Egypt were a stark reminder for Egyptians of the imperative and urgency for dialogue with the view to overcome the current challenges and facilitate an inclusive and peaceful transition. Somali government requests Doctors Without Borders to reconsider its withdrawal from the country. Minister of Human Development and Public Services, Dr. Marian Kasim, says the group's decision would directly affect the lives of thousands of vulnerable people and could lead to what he calls a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. The medical aid group, known by its French acronym MSF, said over the week that it is ending all programs in Somalia due to attacks on its staff. It accuses both the government and armed groups of allowing the killing, assaulting, and abduction of aid workers. Qasim said the government understands the challenges MSF is facing, adding that the government is ready to help them overcome the challenge. MSF has operated for more than 20 years in war-torn Somalia, an environment where medical care was otherwise scarce. The Joint African Union-United Nations mission in Darfur, UNAMID, has expressed concern over the rising casualties in the recent clashes between the Rezegate and Malia tribes in East Darfur. Hundreds have been killed and injured in and around the El Dain and Al Dia areas, though Sudan's official news agency, SUNA, said over the week that the two parties had agreed to cease hostilities in advance to a reconciliation conference. The Joint Special Representative and head of UNAMID, Mohammed Ibn Chambas, had called on the parties involved to resolve their differences peacefully. Governor Abdel Hamid Musa Kasha said the state was unable to control the situation and demanded the military to restore security. The fighting apparently arose earlier this month over unresolved disputes related to land resources, gold mining rights, and cattle thefts. UNAMID says it has increased its patrols in the area in response to rising instability. It is also continuing to support government-led mediation efforts to diffuse tension and restore stability. Chinese President Xi Jinping said his country would continue to promote cooperation with African countries on health and development initiatives. China is set to send medical teams and cataract surgeons to Africa and would deepen cooperation in training maternal and child health personnel. President Xi made the statement on Friday in Beijing while meeting with African representatives for a health forum. Meanwhile, health authorities from China and African countries on Friday agreed to make joint efforts to prevent infectious diseases. A Beijing declaration released by Sino-Africa health officials disclosed that the two sides have agreed to promote cooperation in preventing malaria, parasitic infections, and AIDS. Both sides would carry out cooperation in vocational training and set up joint research laboratories according to the declaration. The declaration also calls for enhanced technology transfers between African and Chinese enterprises to expand the use of quality medical technology. That's it for this edition of ETV News. I'm Aida Salamun. Enjoy the rest of our programs.